Listen to This Week in Money, Saturdays on Internet Radio at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. This week's scheduled guests from Chartworks, Ross Clark. From the Gloom, Boom, and Doom Report, Mark Faber. From WolfStreet.com, Wolf Richter. Plus, we'll have a company showcase update from American Manganese CEO and President Larry Ray. Don't miss This Week in Money this Saturday on Internet Radio at TalkDigitalNetwork.com.
I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE symbol CRL and the pink symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the ResourceWorks Society, his website, resourceworks.com. Welcome back to the show, Stewart.
Thank you, Jim.
The pipeline debate between BC and Alberta, an issue that doesn't want to seem to go away. One of the questions I've been asked is there an alternative route for the pipeline from Edmonton to BC? Could they have it terminate someplace else than Burnaby?
There's no rationale for that ever happening, because we've had the pipeline come to one spot for more than half a century. And Jim, it's not just about where the pipeline goes. You have to recognize that there's a whole bunch of hardware that's at the end of the pipe to get the oil out, to store it in those tank farms, and then also to put it onto ships, where you've got very large investments in that port capacity. So pipeline, storage, and port. Could that go somewhere else? Well, maybe, but we have a pretty good reputation for NIMBYism, not in my backyardism, all around Metro Vancouver. I think if you're going to just arbitrarily draw a line on the map, say, let's put it there, I don't think anyone would be serious in doing that, because they know it would just be a non-starter.
Would they also have to hold brand new National Energy Board hearings and buy up lots of land, things like that, if they're going to move the pipeline as well?
Well, of course they would, yes.
And that would mean even further delay.
Well, I think more importantly, it would be giving billions of dollars to Donald Trump and his corrupt friends in the U.S. If that's what we want to do, it would be a fantastic way to do it. But I don't think most Canadians do. So I think, getting the approved pipeline built to where it's approved to go, and then creating prosperity for Canadians in probably the most sustainable pipeline in the world, the newest, most modern, is what is unfolding now.
Stewart, would you feel safe if you went to the protest site right now and put up a sign that said, I think this pipeline should be built?
Well, I know actually, yeah, there were some people who went down there to do it because they thought, it's a free country, Canada. We're known for our freedom of speech. Let's go down and see if we can exercise that freedom of speech. And they tried to do that, but they were repelled. Even the media apparently were threatened with violence if they filmed and stayed at the site. Global News had that happen to them earlier this week. It seems as if there was any adult supervision, and one could argue there has never been around that protest site, it has gone somewhere else. Maybe they're on vacation in Hawaii or something. But all that we've got there are sort of the dregs of the movement, the sort of anarchists and street people who've taken it over, it looks like. And it seems as if that movement is just petering out, and it's kind of descending into the Wild West there, which is indicative, I think, of where the public opinion is. Most people want this thing built, get it done. It's a clean project for the benefit of Canada, and we're just kind of left with the remains of the protests at this point.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after the break.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Stewart, do you think Ottawa will get anything done before the Kinder Morgan deadline, the end of the month, that where they've said they'll pull the plug on the project?
Yeah, well, I think Ottawa is playing it close to their chest right now. There's clearly something going on in terms of talks. It probably involves the Ministry of Finance and the proponents at Kinder Morgan and the Prime Minister's office are having some conversations about what a deal could look like that allows this company to progress with delivering on its commitment to get that pipeline twinned so that we can see Canadian crude oil getting full value.
Now, with politics, international politics, we have the mayor of Vancouver, New York City. You say bad-mouthing Canada?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, this is a very wealthy individual. He lives in a fine home in a luxury tower in one of the world's most expensive cities. He probably doesn't know what the price of bread is, let alone what the average person pays for in the mortgage. You know, recently I've been talking to First Nations who are trying to escape some really shameful rural poverty in Canada. Leaders are trying to emerge from that through having skilled trades opportunities. Things like building pipelines and welding are a real opportunity. Unfortunately, the mayor of Vancouver lives high up in one of those towers. Really no clue. So he's gone to New York City to tell them that he is fighting. Maybe he wants to get arrested. He's not really clear whether he's got the spine to do that. He sort of hinted that maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But he's saying this pipeline won't get built, and he's against it, which is, I think to a lot of people who hear someone like that who is from this wealthy background, he hasn't worked at an honest day's labor for a very long time in the way that the average wage earner experiences. He doesn't have to go punch a clock. He lives in this bubble existence, spends a lot of time going around the world for his vacations that he puts on Instagram. So this is a mayor in a bubble. He's gone to New York City to say don't invest in Canada. It's pretty clear he doesn't really care or know maybe about the First Nations and their struggle in rural Canada. He doesn't know or understand the economic situation that Canada faces as a pretty small trading economy that's trying to get the best value for its resources. And fortunately, there's a bit of good news in this. It's that he's leaving office, and he, after September or after October this year, won't be around to spread these sorts of lies about Canadian prosperity and resources to other countries.
Of course, we have Kennedy Stewart, an NDP member of Parliament who plans to resign his seat and run for mayor in Vancouver, and he's been arrested protesting against the pipeline. Will that change the message at all? Yeah,
well, I think unless he's in solitary confinement, he will probably continue to have a megaphone to spread a lot of misinformation. I mean, you got to wonder that a parliamentarian who is charged with making and upholding the law is going out breaking the law. This means that he thinks our system is broken, that the Canadian way of life doesn't apply to him, that laws don't apply to him, and so he wants to be mayor. So I guess if you consider the sort of out of touch, the arrogance of the current mayor, if he wants to hand the baton to one who is equally out of touch, equally contemptuous of the Canadian way of life, maybe it's a fitting thing. But I think for Canadians and Vancouver residents alike, it is rather unfortunate that we have people like that who want to try to give advantages to billionaires in the U.S. and create unfounded fears about Canadian resources at the same time as getting rich themselves on public pensions.
Now, you went up north and did some presentations. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, one of the things I do in my work, it's education, it's sharing the research we do, because we are middle of the road. You know, we're not extremists like Mayor Robertson or the MP from Burnaby who wants to be the mayor of Vancouver. We're research-based, fact-based, and what I've been doing this week is talking with people who are in Whitehorse and around the Yukon who are interested in diversifying the economy. They want to have a sustainable mining future. They want to ensure that the carbon footprint they have is a responsible one. And right now, the Yukon Territory, as it used to be known, now just Yukon, it is a place with the population of Penticton, but the land area of France. You know, it's quite a unexpected place in a lot of ways for people from the south who go there. I've been quite a few times. Always enjoy it there. The land of the midnight sun, 11 p.m. now before the sky goes dark this time of year. And anyways, they're bringing in national carbon pricing. They've got this federal plan. They have to go from $0 on the carbon side to $50 in 4 years when the national program kicks in. And they're a little bit concerned about that. So we were discussing some of the pros and cons of taking that approach. For example, in the mining field, where if you have a small mom-and-pop placer operation, you know, if you're looking for gold in the gravel, you need to have machinery that runs on diesel engines. You can't just switch it to, say, solar panels or something like that. There's not the energy in these other forms to run a piece of equipment like that. So they really have no option but to use diesel. Whereas when we had carbon tax come into BC 10 years ago, the great thing about it was that it gave people a choice. You could choose to use less because you had an option. You could take public transportation instead of driving your car. You could realistically maybe ride your bicycle. Maybe you could get a car that used less gas, that kind of thing. But, you know, in places like the Yukon where that economy is still rooted very much in the land, in great land expanses, they don't have choices. So if you start putting all these taxes on, what you're really saying is we want this industry, mining, to go away. And hopefully the special circumstances come to be appreciated by the policy people. Right now, they're still working on it, and there's time to ensure good policy, but they're a little bit worried up there right now.
What kind of message did you take to those people, and who did you talk to?
Well, I went to the high school there in Whitehorse, and we talked about the future of energy. These were very bright grade 10s, and I was amazed. They knew all about fission and fusion. There's a company in Burnaby that these kids knew all about. They wanted to explore ideas around energy efficiency, because right now, Jim, we waste about 30% of all the energy that humanity creates. One thing I told them, this is a really neat stat, is that in the years gone by, in centuries past, humans used per person about 4,000 calories a day in prehistoric times. For the food they ate, you know, the firewood they burned to stay warm, all the other things in their lives, just about 4,000 calories if you equated it to food calories. Nowadays, and I quizzed them on this, no one got it right, everyone said way fewer. How much energy do we use per person in all the things we consume and do? 200,000 calories per day per person is what we use today. It's phenomenal. And I asked them, I said, well, does anyone think we should use fewer calories? We should use less energy. And the young people said to me, well, no, we like it the way things are. We want to make sure we're using energy that has a lower footprint. So that's the thing. And I think in a way that's writ small, it really reflected what's on the minds of so many people. We want to have the way of life we have now, you know, eradication of poverty. People aren't hungry, at least very few people. We don't suffer from diseases. We're able to go from place to place without hardship. All these things come from the fuel choices we make and the energy choices we have, but we have to do them responsibly.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after this.
I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead zinc silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineer gold mine in the Atlan district of northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Stewart, you're going from the Yukon to Jamaica. What's going on in that place?
Well, I've recently joined the CSR Training Institute as guest faculty. We'll be training people from all over the world, from Europe, from Africa, in some of the Canadian learnings in environmental sustainability. How do you have an economy that functions? How do you have things that do have an impact on the landscape, but are necessary for humanity to get the things they need, but also ensuring that the future generations have a land, a planet that is habitable and has a future beyond that.
Why are you taking a message there?
Well, this is where the Institute this quarter is having its meeting. It's a convenient place to get to for people from Europe and from Africa, from around the Americas, and it's not a bad place to be for a few days either, as it turns out. A very nice spot, actually. But when you're able to get away from the hurly-burly of regular life and focus your mind on learning and dialogue, you can accomplish a lot. So we're going to take our Institute's work to a place where we can do that effectively and come out ahead with, I think, success in terms of bringing our exceptional Canadian practices to a greater audience.
Stewart, when you talk about Canada's mining experience, what do other people around the world tell you about it?
Well, I think we have a reputation as a place that has the technology and also the financial skills in being able to maintain our role as a leader in mining. There's only 2 countries in the world that are, I think, competing for the world's most successful mining country. One is Australia, one's Canada. We're friendly rivals, I would say. And we have some of the finest educational institutions, universities, in training people for mining engineering and all kinds of different fields associated with it. And we send out across the whole world the expertise in mining. We don't just produce mining commodities that we mine here in our mines. We also have that expertise, which is, I think, in some ways a more important export, because it helps to ensure that because of the leading edge regulations we have here, the democratic open society that's allowed that to work, that we are able to send our experts, whether it's to Africa or to Mongolia, name a country. There's probably a Canadian working in the mines, or many Canadians in some cases.
Now, the demonization of bitumen or whatever they're shipping or plan to ship to Vancouver, what is the real story behind that? Well,
it's interesting, and what's been going on probably over the last 13, 14 years is that some groups that decided in the United States that they didn't want to see Canadian success in the crude oil business. I think some people say it's because they didn't want the competition. Some people say it's that they were, really just environmentally minded. In any event, there was a strategy developed in the mid-2000s to demarket or demonize Canadian oil. So they started to look for words like not oil sands, but tar sands. They didn't want to talk about Canadian crude oil. They wanted to talk about bitumen and dilbit. And, this developed into quite the industry. There were many millions of people, millions of dollars poured into the demarketing efforts. There was a lot of advertising purchased. There was a lot of propaganda created to try to distinguish Canadian oil as if it was something different that's less desirable. I mean, they're still doing that, but as you look at the truths of this and study it, as I've been doing, what I've discovered is that the Canadian crude oil, it might have all kinds of different names because there's many different products in this line, is functionally no different than crude oil elsewhere. And just recently, we have been looking at Alaskan oil versus Alberta oil. And there are lots of people say, oh, that Alaska oil, it's fine. I don't mind it. I just don't like that Alberta oil. Well, how come? What's the difference? Turns out there is no difference. They're both about the same, thickness. They have very similar amounts of the things that are negative about any crude oil from anywhere, sulfur and stuff like that. It's very, very close. And then above all, the most amazing thing is, we've heard for years people saying, oh, that bitumen from Alberta, if it gets in the water, it'll sink unlike other oils. Well, that's not true. The science we've seen, study after study after study, looking at spills in the water, shows that basically this whole thing about sinking bitumen is a hoax, and it's been perpetuated by the American, whether they're protectionists or environmentalists, you can make up your own mind, but it's definitely the case that it has been perpetuated by Americans who compete with Canada for crude oil. And I think as one examines the fact set and realizes what's going on, it's something we have to stand up against as Canadians.
Stewart, is there somewhere people can go to take a look at what the facts are?
Yes, I'm starting to get those out. If you look in the resourceworks.com website, recently we examined this topic within the Citizen's Guide on Tanker Safety and Spill Response. In fact, in the months I spent researching that book, which we just published the second edition of, I came to examine all of these studies of what bitumen or dilbit does in water compared to other oils, and this is where you see the scientists saying, hey, it's the same thing. We've examined it within that context. So there's a chapter devoted to this topic. But also, I'm going to be talking about it more because I think more people need to know about it, and I think people have been misled, and once they find out how they've been misled, there's going to be some people who are kind of upset about that, and they should be upset, in my opinion.
Stewart, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jim.
My guest has been Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the ResourceWorks Society. His website, resourceworks.com. If you have any questions for Stewart or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.